Hey everyone, welcome to another Terry Talk. This week, the great head scratcher. The great head scratcher being, why are there so many open positions? Where have all the people gone? Well, we know part of the reason for that, of course, is the demographic crunch that we have been facing for the last several years. Somewhat kind of ignoring it, hoping it would go away, but here it is. But also, we've seen a lot of people leave the workforce. Thousands of jobs left open. Why are so many organizations having trouble then with recruiting people when there's lots of people that may have left their jobs? Some of this may come from a article about a year ago in Harvard Business Review, talking about the research of Joseph Feller. And his thesis was maybe it has something to do with how we go about recruiting. And I like to think that here at our, we tend to agree with him. One of the biggest culprits, applicant tracking systems. Some of you may be using those systems. They are fantastic at weeding out the massive amount of resumes that one can get in an applicant. The sad part is, because the algorithms have gotten so good at this, they weed out people with unconventional backgrounds, the hidden workers, if you were, those who want to work, but their resumes just get them screened out by these systems. Ask any of our immigrant friends who are typically underemployed or locked out of employment altogether. They can attest to this. These folks that are in that hidden worker marketplace never get to the interview stage, where oftentimes they actually shine. The authors also talk about how this came to be, funneling candidates. We're now getting to the point where we can get it down to 4 or 5 key candidates out of 250, 300 applicants really well. These applicant tracking systems work well, but maybe too well. Now, the algorithms are fantastic. They do a great job of honing in, but sometimes they miss good employees. Also, what we're seeing today is credential creep. Many of you know what I'm talking about here, where we keep adding on extra requirements. And this isn't just limited to applicant tracking systems. Those biases become baked into many of our managers and our HR folks out there. We see this a lot with candidates here. Candidates that will say, I don't think I should apply to that job. They're looking for too many great things. So keep that in mind. So we think it's time for change. This is going to take an investment, and I think it's an investment by human beings. Technology is only good as the data that it reads. Humans, real people, can find those hidden gems, and maybe it's a shameless plug here for those in the recruiting business, including ourselves. But let's outsource this, but don't outsource it if the folks you're outsourcing to are just going to use an applicant tracking system. That kind of defeats the purpose. Go outside those traditional talent pools. Love this research that showed that the organizations that did go outside of the traditional, go into those hidden pools rather, 36% less likely to face talent shortages. And not only that, those workers from those hidden talent pools, the typical ones that we pass over through applicant tracking systems, greater work ethic, greater attitude, higher productivity, greater engagement, and not likely to turn over. They want to work, they're eager to work, and so your turnover rates go down. I smell a win-win here. I think we also had to rethink our job descriptions, move away from those must-haves to those, hey, these are nice-to-haves. And let's really focus on, what does the data say? We look over time, what ones are really critical and which ones aren't. Get together with your marketing friends. Marketing people know this stuff. They're very good at deciphering data, looking at longitudinal data, looking at what that data tells us and helping us all decipher what it potentially means. Watch out. Candidates can get intimidated with those big fancy words that we like to put in there, world-class, exceptional, those kinds of things can scare some people away. Now, some would argue, well, if they're not, if they don't want to come for that, well, but hey, if you still have an opening, maybe rethink that a little bit. One size fits one, that's our rallying call here at ARIA. We think it applies here as well. And meet people where they are. Not everyone is on a database. Not everyone has a LinkedIn profile. Not everyone is going to be readily accessible or readily found through traditional methodologies. Tap into your local associations, your service groups, your not-for-profits. dare I say it, but tap the networks of large organizations that have personalized relationships. For example, ARIA Consulting is part of Career Partners International. We have, 200 offices around the world, numerous partners, over 50 different partners around the world, all with local connections, because these are entrepreneurs building their businesses there. Phenomenal resource to tap into. Excellent. Finally, let's rethink interviews. The research is clear on this. We are terrible at this. Nobody I know, very few people I know, really receive in-depth training on how to do interviews. That we all claim to be really good at it. It's a big investment. I've talked about this before. The only place we do big investments as equally as poorly as interviews when we buy a house, turn on a tap, check a window, $1 million investment, 15 minutes, we make the decision. Simulations, awesome, or minimally simulated environments. In the article I was referred to, they talk about CVS in the US, where they actually bring people into simulated pharmacies so they know what it's going to look like. Or security screeners at airports. Again, bring them into that environment as opposed to shirt and tie and all that kind of stuff and best business suit attire coming into a stale, cold, office space that's not at all like the workplace. Bring it to that workplace. And as always, use good assessments. So worth it. So worth to have good assessments done on this. One last little tidbit before we go. Watch your political affiliations and or your stances. Research shows that over a third of people will not come to your organization if your affiliation is known and they disagree with it, or your stances are out of the norm or extreme stances on things. You got to watch out for that. So we advocate be agnostic politically, balanced on your social matters. A couple of quick tips that we think may help bring those numbers back, get some more people, consider some more people for your organizations. Let's get some of those openings closed, get people into those opportunities, into those workspaces. And as always, love to hear your comments on this. Let us know. Drop us a comment down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again soon.